everybody. Welcome to another beautiful Tuesday. It is Tuesday, right? I think I'm having a little hard time this week with remembering what day of the week it is, but it is Taco Tuesday. I think it's Trumper Tuesday, Trumper Mail Tuesday. Yeah, I love that one. I wish it was like, well, MAGA Monday was yesterday, so we'll go with Trumper Tuesday today. Hi, good to see you all. Hope you're having a fantastic day. I have been having a wonderful day myself. And I'm really excited today because I get back to talking with someone this evening who is doing the work on the ground. And you saw the title is about being heroes, the ones who are the heroes in these perilous times. And those are the ones who are doing the work and who are putting your eyes down, focused, blinders on, not getting pulled around by all the shiny objects that are out there and having your head, what do they call that when you come up on a wreck and it's like when you're craning to look at the wreck, and so it makes traffic go really slow. I feel like that's what's happening in our country right now, is that we're just so distracted by everything that we're forgetting to just focus very singularly on the thing that we need to be getting focused on, and that is getting the work done so that we can save our country. So tonight, I really get to introduce you to someone who is doing exactly that. Please welcome to the stage with me, Mr. Mike Engelman. Good evening, sir. How are you?
Just fine. How are you?
I'm great. It's wonderful to have you. And I want to tell you who Mike is. Mike is an America First patriot from Southern Indiana, born and raised, and he's still there, actively engaged politically since high school, which is very impressive. He's been an active member and leader of community and civic organizations since the early 80s, currently running for, here it is, but bump, city council in his community, along with 5 other conservative leaders. And he's going to get to tell us something really cool about that. His philosophy and beliefs are this: if you want change, get involved locally and be the change locally. How many of you realize this guy is speaking my language? Absolutely. Mike, so why don't you begin? Tell me what you just told me a few minutes ago off mic about what has not happened in the last 80 years in the area where you're from.
Well, it's a small town. Um, there has not been Republicans run for local office here. I was told going back to the 1940s, 1950s, it's always been Democrats. Democrat mayor, Democrat council, Democrat clerk treasurer. They run in the primaries. There's never any opposition. We've had 2 independent mayors get elected in a fall election and in a 51 or 61 year period. So this year, we have a Republican mayoral candidate who was actually a mayor 25 years ago on the Democrat ticket. We have 4 city council candidates that are Republican and a Republican running for the clerk treasurer. What happened here is people always felt or was always told that if you want to win in the city, you have to run as a Democrat, be Catholic, and be a Democrat. Nobody ever filed as a Republican. So this year we are testing the waters to prove that Republicans can win, because they always vote Republican in the county elections and in the state and federal elections. They've just never had the chance to vote for a Republican in the city elections until this year.
Wow. So what you're telling me is they vote Republican, and yet no one has actually run for the Republican ticket locally. That seems almost planned. Like, that's very strange. So, do you think it's been kind of a situation of the uniparty? I mean, why do you think no one has done this before? If every year or every 2 years your folks go for a Republican president?
I think it's just the old Democrat line here. This used to be a very blue county, blue city, blue area. It's totally red now. It's changed. It changed during the Obama years. 2010, the Tea Party movement had a big impact in this part of the country, and Republicans can win across the board now, whereas they never used to run before. So this year, I was never going to run as a Democrat. I was always going to file and run as a Republican if I ran. And we have a good slate of candidates, good people. They're engaged, they're solid, they're conservatives, and they're about improving our local area, our local city.
That is awesome. Can I see your hat? Can you lean in a little closer and show us your hat?
Small town strong. Jason Aldean.
Oh, nice. Oh, a little plug for that. That's awesome. I love that song, and I love that there was so much backlash because anytime there's backlash, that means you're doing something right. Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. Okay, so, what I've been doing on my show, Mike, is I've been teaching people about the different, positions in government, mostly about precinct committee memberships and how to get involved locally, because a lot of people really don't understand their power. And so, by and large, I think the reason that our country is in the situation that it's in right now is because we don't understand. Like, I never even heard of a precinct committee membership, to be honest with you, until last year. So if I haven't, I'm guessing, and I've been a conservative Christian, straight conservative party voter my entire life faithfully since I was 18 years old. So if that's the case and I'd never heard of it, I have to imagine that there's a lot of other Americans who had it. And now I have deep dived into all things understanding all of this so that I can teach it and help others become involved, because I honestly believe this is how we save our country, is be getting involved in our local government. And so can you tell us about council? I know, so we've got the precinct committee membership members who then, there's a chair above them. Is this council position, uh, it's a you're running as a Republican. Is this an arm of kind of that you need to be part of the GOP and that, goes in that, or is it separate? Like, how does a council tell us about the council position?
Well, it is an election. November 7th is the fall election here. There are vacant precinct committeeman positions, and there's some right here in our city. I have attended a Republican county meeting. Every state is different, but the
Right.
precinct committeeman positions are all the same. That's where you can really make the most impact. You can impact your state party, your local party first, and then it moves to the state, because the precinct committeemen are usually the delegates that go to the state conventions. They have the say in the rules and what the policies are going forward. So that's where you meet who's the rhinos and who's the sellouts and who's the real conservatives.
Right.
But the precinct committeeman jobs are also elected, and they run every 4 years. City council candidates, mayor candidates, it's a citywide election, and it's just like your county, state, and federal. This is the last year in Indiana they're going to run the municipal elections in these odd year, these 20, like 23, and starting in 26, they're going to mirror the county and state. So everybody be running it at one time. But it's, I've attended those meetings, and a lot of people say they can't find out who their precinct committeemen are or who their party chair is. There is websites on your state website that point you in that direction, or there's ways to find out. You just go to your local political leaders and ask them, and start going to the meetings. That's what we did. We started attending the meetings. We started going to the county council meetings. Never really attended many of the city council meetings until this last year. But we just started going, started asking questions, started getting involved, recruiting people, and putting ourselves in the same position.
Now you're running for county council, is that right?
City council.
City council. Okay, tell us the difference, because I'm not completely aware yet.
Well, we have 92 counties in Indiana, and it's county government. You have a county courthouse, you have a county council, you have county commissioners. Then you have cities and towns. Towns do not have mayors, they have boards. Cities have mayors and city councils. There's criteria that they qualify as a city. The same process holds forth. People put their name in the hat, and they run, they campaign, what their platform is, and hopefully if they get elected, they have an impact on that platform where they can make it. It's the same process. You run for county council, the whole county votes for you. If you run for city council or mayor, it's just that city, that
City.
location. It doesn't spread out to the county.
Gotcha. And what things are you in charge of as a city councilman?
Budgets. Well, you're involved in the budget process. You work hand in hand with the clerk treasurer's office. Policy, you set policy for the city. The city council president is ordinarily the one that runs the city council meetings. They're held once a month, discuss budget items. You meet with local department heads, people of the community, attend the meetings. If they have issues, questions, or concerns, that's when those issues are raised. Discussion is held. just local matters, basically. I'm running because our spending is out of control. Our city is dilapidated streetwise. We have zero leadership in our current city government. It's been that way for years. Every meeting is a disaster. It's a circus. They're being broadcast on the internet, and people from the surrounding areas are watching these meetings and laughing at us and making fun of us.
Mm,
It's just a total circus. Nothing's
mm.
getting done. It's the same thing every meeting, every month. Finger pointing and blame. No constructive. What can we do to make our city better? So that's what we're about. That's why we're running.
That's wonderful. Now let me ask you this. I know that we a lot of times I talk to people watching the show, and when I'm out on Twitter and True Social, I talk to people about your city has these, go to your .gov and find out what's on the calendar, get to these meetings because your councilmen are there talking about things, and they have meetings for different budget items and all kinds of different things that you're talking about, and they want to hear from the public, but a lot of times the public doesn't know that these meetings are happening. So I've been teaching people how to find their .gov calendars and so forth so that they can attend these meetings and use their voices. So if that happens, when you guys as a council, you have meetings open to the public. Am I correct about that?
Yes, once
Okay.
a month.
So when you do that and you're asking the public to come, are they when they're letting their voices be heard? And we put one up on the show from somewhere in South Carolina. It was really interesting, and we showed people how it works in that room with the councilman there, and people being able to come and speak on the mic. When you all are listening to the public, what are you taking away from what they're saying? Is that actually put into how you then go and make policy from there, or do you just let them vent and then you're going to go do your own thing? Like, how does that work?
Well, you'd be surprised at what people's hot buttons are here locally. Really, the engaged people who pay attention never attend the meetings, but they know what's going on. It's the small mindedness that show up and complain about the little things that have no bearing on how we grow or grow our community, grow our city. They're focused on things that are irrelevant, in my opinion. Not everybody, but we have a large portion of people that show up, and it's the same stuff. But those that are engaged and following the budgets and following what's spending, they never show up. They just pull you over on the street or in their local diner or restaurant, and they'll tell you what they think or ask you this question or that. But they never want to attend the meeting. I don't know why. It's just maybe they're afraid of being, I don't know, put on the spot and ask a question or something. People are kind of get stage fright when they come to the meetings, but there is a core group that shows up every meeting. It's the same people. They never really say much, but they're always there listening. It's kind of interesting. They don't say anything, but then we have 4 or 5 people, the same 4 or 5 that show up every month, um, complaining about the same things. It's petty stuff. So, and then it drags the meeting down. They don't get anything accomplished. What we're going to do is we're going to try to hopefully educate the people about what our budget situation is, where we are financially, and how we can prioritize that spending and engage them from that standpoint. We have a lot of great committees that community minded people are involved with and engaged in. They're doing a lot of behind the scenes work, and, we want to incorporate that in our city council meetings. Their brain trust is valuable.
So these committees, is there transparency with these committees to the public?
Yes, they meet regularly. They let people know when they meet. They put it on social media. It's usually in the local print media. They're very open. There's no hidden agendas. It's about how to improve our city, how to make it grow, entice tourism, different things of that nature, entice businesses to come here and invest here. So yes, there is an alliance, I guess you might call it. There's an alliance formed. It's been informing for a couple of years, but right now there's this disconnect with the current local city government that doesn't seem to be as engaged with what they're trying to do as the alliance, if that makes sense.
It doesn't. I'm learning. So there's not engagement between local and city and an alliance. So who gets to be part of this alliance and part of these committees? How do people find out how to become that? Because I think what we're wanting to do and what I'm wanting to do is we want eyes on everything. We want to understand how everything works. We want to know what's available to us in our communities. If there's committees going on, how do we know that there's transparency? Where do we find those? What are they talking about? How are they turning the heads? Because not every committee across America is going to be a good committee. So we need to understand, how are these committees influencing our councilmen? You know, if committees are influencing you, the public needs to know how or why. Like, there needs to be just as much as there's transparency with the council, there needs to be transparency with these committees. And are there special interest groups? Are there lobbyists? Like, how do you think that affects what's going on across America today, as far as kind of these groups that are influencing councilmen? You're saying that in your area it's going to be a positive influence, but I don't know that that's always the case. So kind of talk about that a little bit, if you can.
Well, I think the bigger the city, the more conflicts you might have. You might have more hidden agendas. You might have an infiltration of outsider organizations and groups that try to influence policy. In a small community like this, these committees are mostly comprised of volunteers, business leaders, people that are just wanting to improve the city, help it grow, and collaborate with city council and the alliances. The meetings are usually monthly, and they communicate between one another, and they always invite city council and the mayor to attend these meetings. The mayor does attend the meetings. I will give him that. He does go to the meetings. I'm not sure what the engagement is because I don't get to all these meetings myself. Now, if I'm fortunate enough, and we are fortunate enough to get on the city council, our group plans to attend a lot of these meetings to see what, you know, their ideas are and how we can implement those with the agenda we want to go forward with.
Right. And so then also, I assume that the agenda that you want to go forward with is aligned with your communities, or how do you determine what the agenda is?
Well, fiscal responsibility, transparency and accountability, focusing on what the taxpayer rightfully expects and deserves,
There we go.
and then prioritize your spending, investment into the community, get people to get business, outside interest to invest in the community to develop job opportunities, wherefore the community grows and other people locate here business wise. That's not happening. It's not been happening for a long time. We have an opportunity here. I believe, all of us believe, that there's potential to really grow. And we got motivated people serving on these committees within these alliances that want to do it. And they just feel like with the current city government, they can't get the wheel moving forward, if that makes
Gotcha.
sense.
Hmm. I'm not there anymore, but I grew up or most of my life in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and left there recently. Um, I just want to give you an example and ask you what you think about this. Um, there has been for the last several years a very large push to grow that community, but it's been done by, um, I'll just say there's probably been a mix of right and left leaning, but mostly left leaning agenda. And what they're doing is they're incentivizing people in the arts and in tech by giving them $10,000 to move into the community. And so they've been doing this for years. These very rich tycoons in Oklahoma have been doing this. And so Tulsa has just started to be taken over by these very large businessmen pumping money out into the United States and saying, "Come here and grow our city." And so now what was pretty much a red city has now turned purple and maybe blue, because what they've done is incentivized business to come to Tulsa, but they've been targeting tech and arts. And now they're trying to take oil out of the hands of the people in Tulsa. So when I hear you say you want to just grow the place, you want to make it more, how do you do so, but also do so in a way that protects the integrity of, really invites America first, standards into your state that will still protect against tyranny, protect against overreach? Do you know what I'm getting at? Do you see what I'm saying about that? How do you protect against that as councilman?
Well, that's just going to require some insight and instinct to understand who the players are. I think from the local perspective, what I see in the people and the players that are involved, I don't believe that'll be an issue here. They're pretty conservative, conservative based. I don't believe they would allow or get involved with anything that might, like you say, have an impact in a negative way where you see that kind of leanings. Those are out there, yes, and there's a lot of people masquerading as, independent, middle of the road, but when they're left leaners, they come in and they want to change your culture of your community and your schools, then you got a problem. And people are pretty aware of that here, I think. This is a very conservative area, and we do have a liberal base here, don't get me wrong, and it is hardcore liberal, but it is by far not even close to the majority. And they know their role, and they know they're in the minority, and I don't think they want to fight that fight. It's because they're just, pretty laid back around here. They just don't want to fight that fight. We still have people thinking Joe Biden is a great president. I ran into him last night. Um, it's nuts. I mean, these people are, you can't reason with them, but they're the minority, and I think we got a good handle on that perspective. I don't know that I see that being a problem here.
Switching tracks just a little bit, I know that they're really floating the idea of another shutdown across the country. We're all kind of bracing for it, and I know that you and I are definitely against that. But you stepping into hopefully a council position, and I guess this is coming up in November for you guys, which I'm really glad that it's not waiting till 2024, to be honest. But let's say we get all of you in there, mayor, treasurer, and all 5 of you councilmen on the conservative side. What is going to be your what's going to be the stance that your town takes when it comes to masking up again?
I don't believe in it. Don't I never did the first time. I was opposed to it. We didn't have really strict policies here. The schools had it in the beginning, then they dropped it. We have a pretty solid school board that doesn't buy into all that, masking kids all day in the building. Um, Here locally, you have a few businesses, they don't push it. They have the mask sign up on the door, but I never wore a mask anywhere I ever went, even in the doctor's offices. But
Nice.
we do have people that really, use that as power. But my policy, and I think our policy will be, it's we're not going to comply. They can they can think about doing this. I think they're floating it out there to see how it's going to be received. I really don't know that they're actually going to try to do it, but it is floating around. What, we got one case of this new variant in the country, a new flu, big deal. They're floating it. I don't know that they'll actually do it. It's too early. We're a year away from what's supposed to be a presidential election. I think I think people are over it. But our local government doesn't partake, and we surely won't either.
That's good. I'm really glad to hear that. I know that in some states, for example, in the state of New Mexico, as a matter of fact, I was just sitting this week with a sheriff, a wonderful sheriff, Sheriff Hamilton out of New Mexico, and he and a pastor, Pastor Cooper. So this was a really cool story, and I didn't really know this story until they told me this. But Clay Cooper, I think it's Clay Cooper, Pastor Cooper. Uh, when they shut everything down, he said, "No, I'm not shutting my church down." Well, it was the governor who said, "We're shutting everything down." And that is not how that goes. When you have a mayor, it starts, and a lot of people don't know this. If your governor is telling you to shut down, but they haven't first gone through the mayors, they are out of line. They are usurping their authority. They are overstepping their power. It's supposed to start with the mayors. And if the mayors say, "I'm going to defer to whatever the governor wants to say," fine. But your town has to give your governor that power to do that. So this governor overreached and said, "We're shutting this state down." And this pastor said, "No, you're not. We're not closing down." And so he knew enough to call the sheriff. He went to the sheriff's office, and the sheriff said, "That's unconstitutional." So on that next Sunday, he drove up and he put his sheriff's car right in front of the door, and he got out and he was greeting everybody walking in and shaking their hands coming into the church. The police pulled up on the other side of the street, got out, walked over. So the sheriff met them, walked up to them, saw the whole thing on video. And said, "Hey guys, I got this," and they left. Well, the same thing happened the next Sunday, except this time the police came with papers and said, "We have to serve this pastor these papers, these cease and desist papers." He's like, "Okay, you go ahead and give it to him, but then you get out of here." And so they left. So then the sheriff's like, "What am I going to do?" He called all the church together that week into a meeting, and he deputized every single one of them, all the congregants in the church. And they tried everything, but no, this was an overreach by the governor. So I'm really glad to hear that in Indiana that didn't happen to you guys, that the governor didn't overreach that. And that I didn't know that. That's really good. I know a lot of governors did. I know that Christine Nome didn't do that in South Dakota. And there was a few states where they didn't overreach like that. So I'm really glad to hear that about Indiana. We just have to keep accountable because this time we don't know who's going to do what. I think you said you don't think it's going to happen. I think they're going to try something like either malaria or leprosy or something stupid, which can, by the way, be taken care of with some parasite protocols and ivermectin. Just getting that out there. But I'm really glad to hear that about your area. So, tell us anything else you want to tell us about your council position that I'm not asking because I don't know the position really well and I want to learn more about it. Like, just go ahead and tell my listening audience anything else that you think we need to know about or hear about.
Well, I think I've kind of told you what the roles are. I think the biggest piece of advice, if any, is if people don't like the way their city or county government is going, start attending the meetings and start taking a list of questions. Inform themselves a little bit, kind of get educated on the issues. So when you do ask questions, you act like you come across knowing what you're talking about. You gain a little more attention, so to speak. Uh,
Hmm.
challenge what they're doing. Ask why they're doing it this way and not that way. Learn how the city government and county government works. If you care enough about it and start attending the meetings, then you get engaged and get involved. And who knows, maybe you run yourself or you can find someone to run. But that's the way it really starts. It's just engagement with people. There's a lot of apathy out there, but I think the more people see other people taking charge and getting involved, it has a snowball effect, hopefully, down the road where people will get more involved themselves.
Amen. I believe that as well. I remembered we were talking beforehand that I couldn't remember some of the people I met in Indiana, but I remember specifically, this is something you might want to take a look at while you're being a councilman, uh, the summer camps there. So we broke the story right here on my show, and it went all the way up to Fox News that the summer camps in Indiana, specifically one that's been there for a lot of years, that parents have trusted to send their kids to. It's like one of those fun things where I don't know where all you do, but maybe canoeing, horseback riding. I don't know, but one of the parents went to fill out the application for her child there in Indiana, and it asked for her child's pronouns, and she was like, "Wait, what?" And so she went and asked, "Why are you suddenly, this is a first. Why are you asking for my child's pronouns?" And she did a little investigative work and found out that it was a new camp director. She was, I don't know if she was either, I think she was bi or something. She was part of the LGBT community. She's hired everybody, all these different people who are now camp counselors are all LGBTQ, some were trans, defund the police people, the entire camp group. And so she threw the light on that there in Indiana. And turns out then when they kind of came out into the light about this, which they were hiding all this, they were hiding this under the cover. Your kids were going to go stay. And the kids this summer went and stayed with these type camp counselors, blue hair, the whole thing. And it found out that there's an overarching, I think it's like APA, I'm not sure, but it's a camp, kind of an oversight that is over like 76,000 camps across America. And they are pushing the whole DEI, diversity, inclusion, and exclusivity thing into the camps. So that's something you guys might want to look into while you are being a councilman.
Good
Expose
to
some
know.
stuff
Good
there.
to know.
Yeah, 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 be looking into that. So, well, it has been a delight to meet you. I met you on Twitter in one of the spaces. I'm meeting some of the most beautiful patriots there, and I really love highlighting people who are literally salt of the earth, getting down and dirty, doing the deeds, doing the job that needs to be done to save our states and our counties and our cities. And I just want to say hats off to you. Thank you to your family for the sacrifice that I know it's got to be running. I can't, running however it is whatever it is you're doing, but I know you're probably doing all this together, knowing that you're doing your part to save your county, save the country, which is my little phrase: save your county, save the country. And of course, we know Michael Flynn, that one, our wonderful general, says local action equals national impact. And so I'm so grateful for that going out across the airwaves, and more of us need to get involved. And it doesn't. How much time do you think you have to put to this uh, in your getting ready for this? Like, does this take you an exorbitant amount of time for you to do, or is it work? Tell us about that a little bit for others who may be interested.
Well, it's taken a little more time than I thought. There's a lot of things that I've attended and been around the last several months. And my wife and I talked about this before I made the decision. I just discussed about running, showed an interest, but I would never, we talked at great lengths about it at times. If I didn't have her support, I wouldn't do it.
Mhm.
Because I was approached about running for mayor, and I said, I do not want to run for mayor, but I may run for city council. But the preparation is, going to the meetings, listening and learning, talking to the people in the community, developing a campaign strategy, and going out and doing it. That's what we're doing. Um, I love my wife. She supports me 100%. And I know she gets frustrated with me at times because I do spend a lot of time with this stuff. I'm trying to balance it. I just want to get through this election season.
Yeah.
And I think things will slow down a little bit, even though, the gears will shift to being a city council member. I think when you're involved in these things, you get out of it what you put into it, but you can make it difficult for yourself.
Right.
Or, if you're organized and you have a group of people that are organized and engaged and informed, it's not hard work. It really isn't. It's not rocket science. Don't complicate it. So that's what we're about. And I think that's the biggest thing is I've been having to been out there a lot more than I'm accustomed to in recent years. So it's taken a little more time there, but I don't mind it. I've always been kind of a social person anyway, but it's just gotten me out a lot more than I have been. And I've tried to, use that as a balance a little bit, but it's been okay. It's
Yeah.
working.
Well, please tell your wife thank you so much, and that we consider her a hero as well, because it takes there's always a good woman behind a good man, right? That's what I've heard anyway. So please tell her thank you from all of us listening in for being a hero and being a warrior. And we're grateful to you both.
Thank you.
All right. Well, God bless you, Mike. And I'll see you out on Twitter. And I'll say goodnight to you. We really appreciate you being here this evening.
Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure. Good night.
Night.
All right, everybody. Wasn't that wonderful? And Mike, I'm going to go ahead and continue with my show for a little bit. So say goodbye to you here from my green room, but see you out on Twitter. And we're going to continue talking a little bit longer. I do want to bring you guys a little commercial. Don't forget, if you're needing coffee, you know who I love. These guys over here at blackoutcoffee.com, and veterans, 2A believers. These guys are bringing you guilt-free coffee with every sip. You are not supporting the deep state. You are not supporting who is that family? I forget the name of the family, but it's the Ryman Jab Holdings, the Ryman family, who puts out Keurig, and they put out uh, uh, what is that coffee? Sorry, Pete's Coffee. I was having a hard time coming up with that. Pete's Coffee is made by the deep state, and everyone who's buying Pete's Coffee and buying Keurig, they are supporting probably Soros and everybody else. I'm not exactly sure where all that money flows to, but it's not good. So please support blackoutcoffee.com. If you do, you can use this QR code right here and just click on that with your phone. If you're not sure how to use a QR code, just go out to blackoutcoffee.com and use coupon code Coach Mel, and you will get a discount on that delicious coffee with every guilt-free sip. So we encourage you to do that. All right, y'all. It's going to be a shorter one tonight. Thank you so much for joining. It's so fun to learn another part of our power as councilmen in your areas. Find out how yours works. Not every city and county and state works the same. Some states, like we talked about yesterday, have a different setup. But how does it work in your city? I think every city has city council. So this was interesting learning about city council tonight, and I'm glad to know about that. As a matter of fact, I believe a couple weeks ago we showed you, Andy and I showed you on the show, as I referred to earlier, in South Carolina, that was a city council that was meeting and people were talking. And you remember the whole library thing. So that was a snapshot of what this gentleman, Mike Engelman, is doing. So if you are at all in Mike's area in Southern Indiana and you want to support him, please do support these 5 councilmen that are running, and obviously a Republican mayor as well for the first time in 80 years. That's insane. I can't imagine that. All right, everybody. Thank you for being here, and I will see you tomorrow. Will I see you tomorrow? Maybe or maybe not. Hopefully, we'll see if I'm going to be here tomorrow. Check in and see if we've got a show for sure. Thursday and Friday, I've got great shows coming at you. And don't forget to, oh, I don't want to forget this. If you are wanting, if you have been watching and you are wanting a website, like we have America First, LosAngeles.org. If you're wanting that, and I haven't been looking at the chat. Anybody over here tonight? No, nobody's in the chat. If you're wanting that website, please let me know. Please let me know. Get a hold of me because we want to get those out across the country. We really do. Like those fabulous websites, americafirstlosangeles.org. Don't forget, look that up. Oh, wait, there's one other thing I wanted to show you, and this was on Twitter. Guess what is happening in Los Angeles today? As a matter of fact, this was happening about an hour and a half, 2 hours ago. I got to show this to you because this is fabulous, you guys. Absolutely fabulous. So let me tee it up for you. I was so impressed with this. Yeah, this makes me super happy, and it's gonna make you happy too when you see this. So hold on to your Trump hat. Okay, and I'm going to share screen like this, and like this, and like share screen. This one. This one. You guys, I'm funny. I know it. I know I'm funny. I'm trying to do this. Okay. Y'all ready? You want to see something fun? Watch this. This is in Los Angeles. There's a lot of folks out there. Parents' rights matter. These guys are doing this with a police escort. Look there, police escort. How cool is that, you guys? I love that so much. Wow. Fantastic. So that is good news, guys. That's happening in LA. Today. That just happened today. Isn't that cool? So that is amazing. All right. Don't forget to, if you would like to go over to Open Ink, remember that Greg and Catherine put out a wonderful talk about Georgia, what's going on over there. Please go check that out. Let's see. Oh, here's the website that I want you to go to, this liberationtech.com, and that is if you want one of those websites that I was talking about, that's the place to go. Also, if you want to help me out at all with the show, keep me on air. I have moved this to an 8 p.m. show so that I can work during the day while I'm trying to build this podcast. But if you would like to help me get free from a day job, it's going to take a while, but giftsandgo.com, the Coach Mel Show, or you can come and support by becoming a subscriber on Rumble or on our locals channel, either one. $5 a month or more will get you onto the locals channel. Any amount on Rumble that you can subscribe monthly for will just help us out, help me out. That'd be really great. I'm going to bring you some merch. I'm changing the link for the merch that I have, so hold tight. I know I showed you some really cool merch this last week, but same merch, but I'm changing the link. So just hold tight and I'll get that out to y'all. All right. All right, everybody. I love you. I'll see you next time. Have a great evening.